One of the best parts of spring is watching freshwater birds raising their new families. Birds are generally very protective of their young. In the case of these moorhens, they hide their babies in the swordgrass, and they try to divert attention away from their hiding place by calling out loudly. It's a warning to their chicks to stay hidden and to possible predators that they will fight to protect their young. Of course, the chicks are pretty helpless, and they don't always follow directions. This little guy wandered around pretty aimlessly until he literally hit the wall. For the most part, the pond seems such a peaceful place. Here these coots are building their nest. Coots are known for their strange large feet, not webbed, but with lobes that help them be reasonably good swimmers and waders in shallow water. Even their chicks have long legs and look almost as big as their parents after just a few weeks, though still far from adult, still needing to be fed by their parents. Ducks, of course, have webbed feet that make them great underwater swimmers. As the coot chicks grow older, they take them farther away from the nest, often just one at a time, to learn about their environment. And coots can be very territorial, no matter how old their chicks are. For some reason, this coot just didn't want this tufty duck around. He chased him around relentlessly. Sometimes the tufty dove underwater to get away, but most times he took off flying. The coot just kept lurking after the tufty, even though the tufty never got close to the coot's chicks. But even a mother's patience can wear thin, and she sometimes takes stronger steps to remind her screaming child that she's perfectly capable of feeding herself by now. Soon, though, they're sharing a meal on the shore of the pond, and all is well. But most of the young bird's life is spent eating and learning to find food. I love the way chicks look around in bewilderment when their parent dives for food. Young birds are very demanding, and the parents seem tireless in their efforts to care for them. These crested grebes rarely go very close to shore and stay well away from other birds. They feed their young, which are called grebettes, small fish and small creatures that live in the pond. And some manage to get seconds. After just a few weeks, they've grown a great deal. Swans tend to have just 2 or 3 cygnets at a time. Adult swans are very protective and will even attack people when they perceive a threat. They cruise all around the lake, and soon after just a few weeks, they even go into the fields next to the lake to find food. Alas, only 2 of these 3 cygnets survived, but the 2 remaining seem to be thriving. Back in April, These ducks had nothing better to do than stuff themselves with early spring greens and cruise on the pond. By May, there were lots of this swing formation, though always with an outlier or two. Their mother prepares them with oil to keep their feathers dry so that they can swim after just a day or two. It's amazing the duck parents can manage so many ducklings at once. I've counted as many as 11 ducklings that seem to be the same age in one family. By the way, if the male doesn't seem to be doing much, I think it's because he isn't. But a good rest on land in the sunshine is good for everyone. Here I could almost hear Mom saying, "Don't you dare wake them up." Even the smallest chicks seem to be able to swim in relatively high wind and rough water. But this seagull is a constant threat. I'm sure they sometimes manage to pick off a duckling. But soon the ducklings are nearly as big as their parents, though their wings and feathers are still far from fully developed. Duck families are famous for going on long walks, often through towns and cities, to find better nesting and feeding grounds. I never get tired of watching these birds going about their lives, sometimes surprising and often funny, and always calming. Life is that way.